Hey, what's happening guys? Mark back in the workshop on Mark's Aquatics. Now if you can remember yesterday, if you saw the video that I posted a couple of days ago, we went up to Big Blue Aquatics, Maidenhead's a branch of Maidenhead, up in just outside Caerphilly, and we had a chat up there with Dan and Ryan as well. And we went up there and we had a good old look around through their tanks and what they had up there. They had some great stuff up there, some really nice condition stuff. And as always, it's always nice to go up there and have a chat with them all. Anyway, after that we came away with this tank, which was on sale for about £15. So I said I'll take it on, and we'll make something out of that. Now what happened was with that tank, somebody had a bit of a problem with one of the lighting systems, I think, on their tanks which they bought. So this one was cannibalised for its lighting system and its hood, so they gave them a replacement, as his tank was obviously cycled with all these little inhabitants in there, so he couldn't mess that around. So they've taken the hood off and they've given him that replacement, and now this tank was going spare, so that's why it was cheap. And I thought we can make a nice little shrimp tank out of that and put a nice Matten filter in there, which I haven't made before. But I thought, I've got some sponge, we've got some tube, we've got some silicone, we've got all the bits and bobs and the bits of glass we can cut to go in there, and we can make another really good filtration system for our shrimp to keep them alive. Because I want to try and set this up and put one type of shrimp which I've got in there. I'm not sure which one I want to concentrate on yet, but pick the best of the best I've got and put them in there and start off a colony of them, and see how we get along on those lines. We've got some nice snowballs in there, I might put those in there, and so we'll see how we go. But what we're going to do, right, we're going to cut some glass. We've got to put a rim of glass first. I've got lots of offcuts, you know me, lots of offcuts of glass like that kicking around, bits and bobs cracked off them. But what we need is two very thin slithers, just so we can put on the back side here. We're going to silicone a thin piece down there, and we're going to put a thin piece of glass down there as well, with them sticking out that way and sticking out that way. That way we can get our sponge, we can bend our sponge in a semicircle like that, fitting them behind each piece of glass, push it right to the bottom and have it right at the top, and then we can cut a nice little U shape out of the top of the sponge for our return pipe to go over. We'll have an airline inside, we'll airlift system this. You can do them with pumps, but an airlift system's just as good. And if you're running a multi airline bank of tubes, it's just going to cut down on your electric bill as well. And with the amount of things I've got going, guys, that's a good idea. So as that pipe goes down, that water then will get drawn through that sponge all over the various places, come up the back, and then be deposited back into the tank over the top as it comes down. So what we've got to do now, we've got to cut out, it'll all become clear. If I'm rabbiting on a bit at the moment, just going to give you a little heads up on what I'm going to do first. So now we've got to cut some glass, and we've got to get some straight edges on there. Now I've got that, not a bad size, there's a nice straight edge going down here, so we can put that on. We can get a rough measurement on there. But don't forget, it doesn't have to be top to bottom perfect, but the better we can get it, obviously the better it's going to be. Might have to take a little bit of a chunk out of the bottom corner there just to go around the silicone, so we can fit that on the base, and we can just run that silicone gun around that corner to seal it off. But what I'm going to do first, like as with all glass, make sure it's all as nice and clean first, okay? Make sure you clean your glass first, get all those little imperfections off. I've got a few bits, got another bit there. Actually that is spot on for height, that's brilliant. So there's a bit there, I was just drilling a hole through for something or other, I can't remember what I was doing that now. We can use that instead of that one now, so that's perfect, guys. That was a good find. I'll put that back in my glass pile, and now I've got to find my glass cutter, and I'll just run through it quickly with you again, how you cut the glass and break it, and we'll cut our pieces to go in here and make this Matten filter up. Right, okay guys, we've set up again, slightly different angle, and we've got our bits of glass there. Now we're going to use this piece here, and we only want some very thin strips. So I've got the other piece of glass there, which had, this edge is a little bit wonky, but this has got a nice straight line, straight edge to it. So we can put that on the top of there like that. And we want to make them, just do it by eye. But I'd say probably maybe an inch, if that. So if we do about an inch cut like that. Now don't forget, put a bit of oil on your cutter wheel, okay, just to lubricate that, and you'll get a better score through, and you'll get a better cut. Hold it nice and firmly together. You can measure things with your glass cutter if you just put it on the side with your thumb. You know exactly where you are. You can move it out that way or that way, whichever you want. And don't forget, you've got to allow the thickness of the wheel as well. So when you're up against the side, if you want to make sure that your cutting wheel is on the line, not on the edge of there. Okay. And then we get the old wheel. And we give it a good score down there. We can move it over and do another cut there. The best thing to do then is when you've got them on, you just press. There you go, that's popped that one. So we've got one piece there like that, thin bit. And if you want to do it and be a little bit more careful, you can add a little bit of down pressure. Just tap it lightly along. And if you just press lightly, you'll see it fracture along the line. And there you go. And that'll part like that. Okay, so now we've got, put those away, and always make sure you clean up any little bits that are on here, because you're going to give yourself a cut, because you always get little splinters coming off. I can see them shining here now, so I make sure I get my little bin handy and chuck them to one side. And as always now, have we got our two, I don't know if you can even see that there. Can you see those yet? We've got our two side bits now. So what they're going to do, if we can bring our little tank in closer so you can see, we're going to silicone a piece in that way, and we're going to silicone a piece in that way like that, and then our sponge filter will fit inside that, which will all become a bit clearer soon. Once I put it in, you'll see what I mean. But first of all, we got a lot of sharp edges there, guys. Okay, so get yourself some of the old trusty aluminium oxide paper. I've just got some wrapped around this piece, which I was using for something completely different, but it works really well. Just rub it up the sides. Taking those little sharp edges off. You don't want to go cutting your pinkies now, do you? Like I said before, guys, the thing is with cutting glass, it's confidence. And once you've made that score, you just tap it away with a bit of pressure. Wear gloves if you're not confident. You could give yourself a little cut, it is possible. And I don't want you screaming at me that you should have said to wear gloves. So that's optional, obviously, if you want to wear them or not. I've been doing this stuff for years and I'm quite confident around using stuff like this and doing things this way. But then clean it all off, so we've got nice pieces like that. Now don't forget, if you don't want to cut glass, you can always cut acrylic or some perspex sheet, to do this exactly the same way. I just like using glass because I've got loads of it around here, so I'm just using up what I've got to save on the old cash. And we'll give it a whirl and see what happens. Right guys, a really good way to clean up glass is use a brand new Stanley blade, utility knife blade, and just scratch off anything which is on the face of the glass. And you'll be surprised how much hangs on there, you really will. But one thing I will say, and I see a lot of people doing this, with these blades, when you get them when they're new, they're covered in an oil to stop them rusting. Now, I don't know what type of oil that is, but what I do is I always pour boiling water. I hold one of these in a pair of pliers or a pair of tweezers or something, okay? Or even put some cotton through there and hang it and pour boiling water all over it and dissolve all that oil off before you use it. Otherwise you're going to coat your glass with some oil residue, you're not sure what it is, and you can pollute your tanks up, and especially with shrimp, because you know they're very susceptible to being polluted, so we don't want that. So that's why we're nice and careful. So we can just clean these edges off now. You can put them up to the light and see if there's anything still stuck on there, and clean every little piece off. That's that one done. I've just started up a Facebook page, guys, as well. It's a closed group, and I'll put a link in the description later on where you can go to it. But if I forget, if you look at the if you come into the website on the YouTube channel there, I put a link icon in there, so you've just got to click on that, okay, and that'll take you straight through to it. Now you're going to have to like apply, and if you just click on join, it'll come through to me, and then I'll okay it, and then you can have some good old chats on there. It'd be nice to have like a little chat room there where everyone can come in and share their ideas, or if they've got any ideas, anything they want me to build or anything that they want to hand with, we can throw each other messages backwards and forwards and help you guys out. And likewise, I'm still learning as well, so any ideas from you guys will be much appreciated as well, you know that. Right, so we've got these two bits done, so they're all sorted. Now what we've got to do is we've got to get our silicone out, which is around here somewhere. Here it is. There's always a little bung in the end left. Oh no, quite, that's all right. Normally I have to take the end off and drag a bit out, but it's worked well today. Still working. Like I said, there's lots of different types you can get. I've got one up here, which is gold label. Now this stuff's one shot. It's absolutely brilliant. If you get a leak in your aquarium, or a crack in the glass or anything, and you think, oh my god, it's going to go bang, or your tank starts leaking out of a corner somewhere down the bottom, so you know if it's leaking there, you can easily drain it down to there and get above the crack and stop the leak. But if it cracks down here, you get a little crack that goes across like that, or it's leaking out the joint, this stuff is a godsend. It's always worth having some of this, okay, in your kit, because it's completely fish safe, solvent free, it repairs, well, it tells you everything there, it does, look. I'll just repeat what it says. It seals underwater, okay, so you can put it in the tank, like if that was full of water, go straight in there and seal it up, stop it leaking, that'll leak it, stop that leak instantly. It's fish safe, instant repair, and it bonds to all surfaces, so it's fantastic for making aquariums, trickle filters, anything like that. You've got to use it within 3 days of opening, that's the only thing, so it's best to keep it, one of these, I think they'll work out about 12 quid, but it's 12 quid well spent if you've got a big tank and it starts leaking, and you've got that in your armoury just sat there, and hopefully you'll never have to use it, but if you do, it's there. And I'd always recommend getting some of this. I picked this one up yesterday from the Big Blue up at Maidenhead, So it's about 12 quid because I've got a project coming up I'm going to use it for, and I want to use the I want it because it's black silicone. This one, it's a black sealer, and this will fix your ponds as well. It'll fix all different types of stuff. It'll fix. It'll stick to pond liners, glass, plastic, ceramics, stone, wood, concrete, when used with a suitable primer. So there's lots of uses for this stuff. It's a good little buy, it really is. So we're just going to use the clear for now because it's only a little bit, and I could use it, but then again, in 3 days time this is going to be gone, and it'll be a 12 quid bond for a couple of little bits, and I'd rather use it for a bigger project, to be honest with you. So we'll use the clear stuff because we just want to stick these roughly in place. They're not going to withstand any pressure or anything like that. They're literally just to hold the sponge behind. So like I said, you can use fiberglass. I'm losing it. You can use perspex. You can use acrylic. Anything along those lines you can use as well. It doesn't have to be glass. So what we're going to do is move our little board out of the way. There's the back of the tank here, so we want to turn it round that way, and then I've got to chop this glass down a bit. If you don't want a massive filter, because it's only a very small tank. So what I want to do here is I want to hide the heater and everything behind here. So I've basically got to take off a tiny, I don't know if you can see down there, can you? I'll just move that out of the way. I've just got to basically take off a tiny little slither off the end for it to like that, a little tiny bit, so you can get some pliers if you wanted to, and you can just snap like that. Oh, that just fell off. You can just snap them off very easy. I've got to do the same with that one now. Just measure that back in there to see if we're fitting enough. I reckon a little bit more and we should be good to go. Right guys, I've just cut the other one to length now. So when they're pushed in, I've got them to lock in. Just cut them in so they near balance themselves just by compressing that bottom silicone a bit. We've got that bit of glass stood up in there like that, okay? That's what we want. And this is going to be a bit of a process, so we're going to have to put a piece in, we're going to have to leave it, and then we're going to have to glue the other piece in and put a little prop underneath it just to hold it up to get that height that we want, okay? So what we've got to do is we've got to get our silicone. Once we know we're exactly where we want to be, we can lay our glass flat like that, and we've got a nice equal run up there. Now with your silicone gun, stick in, hold it in place and run your silicone bead all the way along, holding it down like that. And then just lift it up, sandwich it on the top, flick your finger and just run it up the inside. Get it to where you want it. And there you are, we're stuck in place. And this is nice stuff, this, because it dries clear. So any overspray, any over bits that come out, you don't want them off, leave them. Don't try and rub them off or anything, because that's when it'll smear and it's a nightmare to get off them. But if you leave it in a blob, it'll come off. You put a Stanley blade under it and it'll just peel off easier later on. So we can leave that one now in place. That won't take long to go off. And then we need to get another piece. I think what I'll do is I'll let that one go off first. There you go. I'm going to let that one go off first, guys, okay? It's going to take maybe a couple of hours, and then we'll flip the tank over and we'll stick the other one on the other side there. Don't want to rush these things, you want to make sure that they're in place and they stick nicely, and then you'll get your strongest bond that you can get then, okay? B&Q, let's get some supplies. Alright guys, here we go. We've got loads of waste pipe here. This is the one we want. They haven't got it in black, sadly, they've only got it in white. So we're going to need a length of that. Oh, I thought we were lucky there and had some black. But it's all white, certain lengths, so many metre, 2 metre lengths there. So we'll get 1 2 metre length of that. And then we're going to come down here into these little guys, and we want a 90-degree bend. Like that. 1 90-degree bend, I'll take a couple of them. In fact, there's a packet of 3 of those there, which works out a bit cheaper. So we'll get that, and we'll get a packet of those clips as well, because we can do something funky with them as well to hold it in place. And I think we'll get some straight connectors as well while we're here. Right.
See, I've even got ash wires.
They're great, aren't they? These fires are so realistic, I couldn't help but show you this. Look at that. It actually smokes as well, look. But it's all fake. Let's put my phone in the fire, look. Nothing happens. That's fantastic. Oh my god, it's like I'm like a kid in a sweet shop here. Look at it all. Tools, tools. Too many things to choose from. Look at it all. Huh? I need all of it. God damn it. What do you reckon, babe? Do I need it all?
Yeah.
I need it all for projects. Maybe one day. Who knows? I've got to win the lottery first. On today's episode, we're going to be carrying on the filter build, this Matten filter build that we've been doing. The first part I did. Oh, you wouldn't believe the amount of hassle I've had with the with this YouTube editor thing. Now they've got rid of the YouTube editor thing. I used to use that all the time, and it's been a right royal pain in the backside now, trying to find out alternative ways and means to splice things together and get this content back up to speed for you guys. So this video and the other one, I might have trouble splicing it because I've got to get used to a complete new system, and it's luckily I'm bald, because I'd have pulled most of my hair out if I wasn't by now, I can tell you that for sure. Computers and me really just don't get on that much at all. Anyway, right, what we're going to do on the last video, if you saw, what we did is we put in these 2 glass sections here, which are now nice and solid. We've gone off. I'll turn it round for you. There you can see the two pieces of glass now. You see we put them in there. Now that's where our sponge now is going to be cut to fit. So that's our next job, is to cut the sponge to fit inside. Now I've got some more sponge around somewhere. I'm going to have to find it. So I'll just pause you for a minute, guys, and I'll get back and we'll get on with cutting some sponge to fit. Okay guys, we've got the sponge. We've got our little bit of glass we can use for a straight edge there. You've just got to basically measure out the width of your sponge that you're going to need. I'm going to try and keep it quite flat across the front here and angle the sides, because this is such a small tank, as you can see by the size of my hand there. I've got quite big hands, to be honest, but it's only a very small tank. So we're going to keep this as small as we can, and we'll just keep a nice flat face on there as we can. I've only got the green sponge in the in this thickness, but it'll be fine, because when we got the plants in there and we got all mosses and things, it's all going to mingle in and blend in with time anyway. So we're not to worry too much about the colour of the sponge. But I reckon I can cut it about there. Without chopping my lovely towel in half. I think what I'll do is I'll put that bit of glass under there now. Okay, not a scratch. So now we've got a nice oblong shaped piece of foam. It's about 1 inch thick, which is going to be fine. I know some people say 2 inches thicker, but I would have used a thicker piece if I had a bigger tank, but I haven't. So we've only got this small tank, so we're working with what we've got. Now you can bend that around, and then we can slide that in place all the way down to the base, push it nice and tight to the bottom. So I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to get the knife and I'm going to cut it that angle from about there all the way down and go across on both sides, and that's going to give us a little bit more room coming forwards, because I want to fit the heater behind there, a little small heater, as well as the pipe that we've got. And the pipe we're using is this white pipe. You can buy this at the plumbing stores, and you can get all the fittings and fixtures, which I'll show you in a minute. Very, very cheap, and it's just PVC pipe, so there's nothing's going to harm your shrimp, so we haven't got any worries about that. But that's going to go in the back there like that first, and we're going to have to make our little airlift system to go with that. But I want to make as much room as I can to store the heater in there and that. So we're going to cut the edges just like that and like that. Okay, right guys, I've done that. Now we've cut that down on an angle like that each side. Just literally put it up against a piece of wood and just slice it off like that with a little straight edge each side. Now, so now when we put that in there now, as you can see, it fits lovely in there and just slides down nice and tight right to the bottom, and we've got a lovely flat face on the sponge. If you can see in there, we've got to trim the top up yet. So now that's in there, if you can look from underneath. Now we've got a nice gap in the base and it fits nice and tight in there now. So no little shrimplets can get stuck. And get harmed and sucked back into the back of the filter. Fits in there nice and tight. So that's that in there now. So now what we've got to do is we've got to create a hole now through here, which is very simply done. If you remember last time, if you're up to speed with these videos, with my little bits that I use for cutting out little plugs, I use the little glass cutters. As always, I'm organised and I'm looking for everything again as usual. Right, what I normally use is one of these little glass cutters. Okay, now what we want is we want to put a hole now through the sponge here for the pipe, the return, to come over the top of there. Just a nice little half moon going through there, which is very simple to do. when you just hold the drill. Probably get it better if I come up here. These don't hurt at all. They're diamond tipped. They're not going to hurt you unless you really press hard. But if you just grab hold, put it in the center there, push gently. And then you'll just cut your little hole going through like that. And then our little pipe is going to fit nice and snug then in there like that. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to cut the pipe to length to go in there. And also we bought these little 90-degree bends as well, which are about a 90p, I think they're 94p, which are nice and cheap. We're just going to see if we can put this tank together super cheap, so any of you guys can go out there and have one of the best filtration little systems out there going for as little money as possible, and you can have a real successful little shrimp tank. Now that's going to fit on there like that. Now normally you'd solvent weld these together, but with these sort of things there's no pressure in there at all, like mains pressure or anything like that, so you don't actually need to do that. They're quite a snug fit, so you can just push them on and that will do absolutely fine. You can take a measurement from the side of the tank there if you like. Just pull it off the bench slightly. You can see that there. If you want to just cheat. But I know that's got to be there to there. Now I've got these handy little tool here. Not everyone's going to have these. Some of these little pipe cutters, which are fabulous tool, you literally just put it in there like that, stick that in there, give it a snip, and you can cut your piece off like that. I've got them because I do a bit of plumbing work now and again, so I picked these up a long time ago. Easy to use, a hacksaw, Stanley blade, just run it around, get your Stanley knife and just do that, you know, run it around and turn it like that, and you'll cut it through and then just snap it off. That's one way of doing it. But now we've got our piece of pipe. Just turn you around that way again, and we can put our sponge back in, pull that down, push that down the back, and we want to take a little bit more off of there, I'd say ½ inch, because we've got to add another clip on the bottom anyway to put the firing things everywhere here. Right, put that down there again. And now as you can see that fits spot on now inside there like that. And there's your return pipe. Now we've got to cut another piece now. Any sort of size you want. I'm just going to go for that length. And that one will just screw straight into there, sorry, like that. And so now you've got your little return coming up the back. Which is all working great. There's still enough for a heater down there, there's still enough room to put a small heater in. You're only going to need a tiny one for in here. And don't forget guys, if you haven't got room for a heater behind there, you can always buy flat under gravel heaters, which you put under the substrate, put there first. You can run the cable then up the back through there with the sponge down on top of it, and then plug that in and cover that over the top with media, and then that heat will permeate through the media then and warm your water that way as well. They're just little square pads that fit underneath. You can buy those as well, so they're quite handy little things to have, and they're quite cheap to buy as well. Right, so now we've got that, we've got to get our airlift system rigged up with it as well. And so we're going to have to use a coupling like that, and we're going to have to drill a hole. I'll just take this out again. That's why I cut the pipe a bit short, because that's going to go on the bottom like that. It's a bit more of a substantial chunk on there. Then we can drill a hole into there. And at most aquatic shops you're going to find these little adapters. You've got a three-way, a straight through and a 90 degree. Now if we get the 90 degree one, get one of those, and you want to drill a hole through the side there like that and put that right through, and then you can just put a blob of super glue on there and glue it in place so it fits in there like that. Then that oxygen's gonna, that air, sorry, is gonna run through there, up there, pulling that water up, and then come out the front and start sucking that water then through that sponge and creating our filtration that we need. So we've got one of those now. We've got our little double pipe on there now with our 90 degree over the top. Excellent stuff. Okay guys, we've got the old bit there now. Just put a little pilot hole there, and we're just going to do a little drill through there like that, minding the old fingers. Everything's falling down in the shed now. Right, we've got a nice little neat hole there now, so we can put that in place. Now if you've got the right size drill bits guys, you can screw those in really tight from the onset like that, and you won't need any super glue at all. I'm just pushing that in now nice and tight. And there we go, there's our little uplift, our little pipe there now. So where's a bit of pipe? I've got some pipe lurking around here somewhere. We've always got pipe around here in the workshop. There's a big bundle of it there. So now that is going to sit on top of there and come up the back, out the tank like that, and connect to the air pump. So that's good. Now we've done that piece. If you guys want to know what glue I use Gorilla Glue. Super glue made by Gorilla Glue. Brilliant stuff. It's a gel form. Well, not very well, I would say it's a bit of a gel. It's not really thick gel, but it's not really runny like your normal super glue is. And you can just put a little spot on there, and a little spot on there as well, and let that just trickle around slowly, and that'll seal up that hole nice and solid. So we can sit that aside for a minute. That's done. Don't forget to screw the old lid back onto your super glue, well, that'll be going off supery quick. Put that back over there. Right, so while that's drying now, we've got our filter now in the corner. We've got that drying. Right, now what we've got our little pump, air pump there, which is all it's going to need to run this system. I'm not going to, well, I'll use that just to show you guys, but then I've got the koi pump, the main pump over there, which I'm going to take a little spur off, a little T-piece off of that, off the main tube that runs my big filter, and I'm going to run that through here and connect it up to all these, because they're all running off one big bank. So but if you haven't got one of those, you can always pick yourself up one of these. They're only a couple of quid. You can buy them second hand, very, very cheap to buy these days, and that will run that spot on with a little regulator valve on there, which we've got around somewhere. But I thought with this pipe, when you get this pipe, you can buy the clips as well, see, and they just clip onto there like that. You can move them around. So we got two of them. Clip them on there like that, turn them which way you like, and that will suck it to the side. We've got a couple of old suckers there from an old heater, which we can now trim off the majority of that and then poke it into there with a bit of super glue, and then that's going to hold on there nice and tight. Okay, so if we get our little Stanley knife, what I tend to do is just Get a nice new blade, carefully cutting down. And then you can just remove those little bits all the way around until you get it to the same diameter. If you've got a nice sharp pair of scissors, it might work as well. I'll just see, it's just hard to get the yeah, it's just difficult, bit more difficult to get the end of the scissors in there, to be honest. So I'm going to trim these down and I'll get back to you when they're done, guys. All right. Right. You've trimmed them down now. Just cut the edges off, and then with a bit of a screw around and a press in, they'll lock in there nice and tight all by themselves. But we're just going to put a bit of added strength around there with a bit of super glue, just so they fix nice and tight and don't give us any hassle by coming off later on. And it will actually add in the lubrication side of things for getting that back in there nice and square. Just hold it in there, press for a little bit, and there you go. We've got a nice little DIY clip there, which you can use for heaters as well, believe it or not. I've got a heater over here, which I can show you. So if you ever run out and you need another heater clamp, they fit on there perfectly as well, see? Just the job. Right, I'll just hang that back up, and we'll glue this other fella on. Yeah, that YouTube editor, what a pain in the backside that really is. Couldn't believe they've taken that away when you're so used to doing something, and they decide to shift the goalpost, especially when you get into your later years and you're not really I'm not really computer minded, you know. So I'm all tools, me. I love working with the old hands and doing stuff with the hands, but when it comes to all that head work with computers and stuff, you can count me out. Really, it's taken me a while to learn how to do what I've done already, and now they've decided they're going to take it all away. So that's fantastic. Thanks for that, YouTube. Now I've got to download other things and start all over again, but I suppose I might come up with something better than I had before. So I look at it on a good side like that as well. Right, there you go. We've got a lovely little clamp there set up, little stickers that can go on there. You can stick that to the side. I'll just put the top back on here, clear all this stuff out of the way. And now you can see a little bit better now. So now we can bring that tube down there. This obviously, because nothing's fixed, you can take that off, bring that inside, suck that in place there. That's that in place. Top goes back on. And there you go. Everything's stuck fast there now. Sponge goes in the front. Which you don't have to slide in, you can always push it in sideways as well. And there we go. We're all fixed in, nice and solid now. And all we've got to do now is put our airline in there. And I think what we'll do is now, just to take this one a bit slower than the other one, we'll fill him up with water on the bench, just normal tap water. We'll get the airline going, and I'll show you how effective the little airlift system is. Right, guys? Right, guys. I just had a little idea then while I was doing this and putting it all together. Now you can see in the back there the way the pipe and everything hangs on. What I've done is I've put in, if you look in the base of the tank there now, I've put another piece of glass going across that way, so the sponge now will fit down behind that, so when we put our media in, our media is going to come up level with that piece of glass, so it's not going to be, so it's going to protect our filter then from going obviously onto the substrate and it using the substrate, because it would suck underneath there otherwise as well and create another means of sucking it through, which we didn't want. We just want the filter to be working. So under gravel filtration, something another day we can go into, but at the moment I've just put that little piece in there now and I've sealed that in. I've just got the glue gun out, I've super glued it in place as well, but there's a little gap there which I just want to fill in with a little bit of hot glue on the left hand side. I know you can't really see it from there, but it's only about 1 millimetre or so apart, very, very small, probably under that to be honest, but we'll just fill that in and then we'll set it all up and then we'll fill it up with water once that's gone off, okay, and then we'll get this thing fired up and we'll do a bit of a road test with it. Right, I've hot glue gun that now in place. I'll just show you now a bit closer what we've done. There you are, I've put the piece of glass along the base, glued that now so the sponge will fit in behind there. We've got all our pipe work now in place, all stuck to the side nice and tidy. I've just decided I'm going to put a little under gravel heater in this because we haven't got a great deal of room. This is such a small tank that it's going to look nicer, and I think it's going to work better with the under gravel heater in there as well. So we're going to leave it and put that under gravel heater in later on. We can put the wire from the pipe now, because obviously if the wire is going to go on the bottom, we need to be able to get it out. I could have cut a little piece out the bottom for the wire to go through, but then it's near enough trapped in there, then if anything goes wrong with it you're going to have to pull the tank apart to get it out. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put the wire up. If I can grab my little demonstration stick so they get my big arm in there, we'll have the pad, the filter pad then will be on the base here. The wire then will come up over there, come up the back and then come out to the socket, and we'll have some under gravel heating going on, which is a good way to heat your substrate as well, because once that substrate gets up to temperature, that thermostat then will lock off and it'll keep it warmer as well. So it's a good way of doing things. Right, now we've got to do is get our sponge back in now. We can poke that in the side. Now that's gone off. And then we can drag that down behind that. Poke that in. And there we go. Now we've got a nice little filter system now, which is right housed nice and neat. We can adjust the flow there, left to right, whichever we want to do, for circulation purposes. Massive surface area there for colonisation of bacteria. And don't forget, it's going to create biofilm as well for our little shrimps to feed on, so it's going to be a really good food source for them as well, for the biofilm growing on there. So that's really good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fill it up with water, and I'll get back to you when I've done that. I would have done a nice bit of hyperlapse, but they've messed me about with my YouTube stuff and I don't know how to do it now, so I'll have to learn how to do all this stuff again, which is going to be a bit of a pain in the backside, but there you go. We'll get round it. We will adapt. So I'll get back to you when I've done that, guys, and we'll press play and see what happens. Right, guys, we're all full of water. We got the pump here. We got our little pump, just that little one I've hooked up to the mains there. This will create a load of flow, believe it or not. You only want a tiny little pump like that. At the moment, I haven't got the one-way valve on it. Make sure you always put a one-way system on there. I'm just going to keep this up a bit higher. Otherwise, what happens is the water comes back, it back siphons, if you're unfamiliar with these things, and it'll fill your pipe up, then it'll go into your pump and ruin that. So you always have an anti-siphon on there, which is a tiny little valve about that big. I'll find one on here. In fact, I should show you guys actually. If you're new to the channel, I'll just put that out of the way a minute and I'll find one. Well, I'd love to have shown you one, guys, but I haven't got one, I'm afraid. I've used it up on these two bubblers up here. So I can't show you, but look it up. It's an anti-return, only a little bit of plastic like that, with a little valve in it. The air can go through one way, and it's got a little bladder in there, and it stops the air going back and the water going back in. Right, yeah, so we'll plug this guy in now. Now we'll see what happens. And there you go. Look at that. Got an absolutely lovely little cascade of water coming out of there. Hardly any bubbles coming out, and you can see it's oxygenating that water just right. Coffee time. That's good. What I'll do is now I'll take you out the tripod and I'll give you a look around the side so you can see exactly what I've done. There you go. Now what happens is, if you're unfamiliar with these systems, you can see the water, how nice it's coming out of there. It's got a really nice flow rate there, which we can adjust when we put our little adjusting valve here. We can have that. That's running flat out at the moment, but it's not a bad little current of water to go, to be honest, to be going through there. Now what happens is, if you're unfamiliar with these systems here, we've got our little 90 degree there going up inside. Now as the air is pushed through there and rises up this tube quickly, it draws that water up the tube, and then it empties it back into the system the other side, into the aquarium the other side. But what it's doing is it's drawing it through the sponge filter. So that's going to create your bacteria all over this and act as your filter. It's going to suck it all through there, rise up the back, and then dump that nice clean water back in there. Okay, you can see it all working nicely there. So that's working absolutely spot on. Really happy with that. And the good thing is, if you had a bigger system, you could put one of these in each side of the tank. Preferably I'd like to have had black sponge, but green, it's going to mingle in with all the branches and different things I'm going to put in there in time, and it'll discolour over time as well, and camouflage itself in amongst it all. Or if I come across any more black sponge of that thickness, see, you want a very fine sponge, you don't want a too coarse sponge, because the shrimplets will get through and they'll get tangled up in there. That's a maze of little holes and little alleyways where all those bubbles pop to form that sponge. And once they get in amongst that lot, it's going to be like getting out of a maze for them, and you're going to lose quite a few shrimplets that way. But one fantastic thing about this is, if you ever have a little gap and one does manage to get behind and get into that rear section, there's no moving parts that's going to chop them up and throw them back into the tank. It's just neat air pushing them up. It'll suck them up again and put them back into the right side, so you're not too worried about anything getting messed up. I can already see particles getting sucked from inside the tank. You won't see them on camera, but I can see them getting pushed across and sucked into the wall of that sponge, which shows me it's working absolutely fantastic. Happy with that. Right guys, I think on the next video we'll get some plants in there, we'll get some media in there like we've done on the other tanks. This has cost under 20 quid to buy this and to make that so far. Everyone can find a bit of old greenhouse glass or something kicking around somewhere that you can use, or know someone that's got a piece you can go and beg, borrow and scrounge. And you can pick this sponge up from the aquatic stores. I mean, they're not that expensive. You can buy sheets of it, or if you've got a good source that you can get it from, use that, but make sure it's not treated with anything. It's got to be on the safe side. You're better off getting the proper aquarium sponges just to be safe. So what have we used there? We've used one piece of uplift tube, which was about £2.80 I think for the length, 2 metres of tube. One 90 degree bend, which was 90 odd p. One collar at the bottom to make the where we put that little 90 degree bend in. That was the same, about 90p. So you're talking under 20 quid for a shrimp tank with an amazing filtration system already on there. We're going to make a lid for it, so it just shows you haven't got to go out and spend hundreds of pounds on stuff when you can make something that's going to work absolutely brilliantly. You know, like we've done. If I can just go over and we can have a look at the other system that we've made there on top of the workshop bench on my toolbox there. That's working fantastically with the little lid and that trickle filter we made, and those shrimps are having a whale of a time in there. So it just shows you how easily things are made, and it's always better fun making it yourself, guys, you know that. Once you make something and it works, there's nothing more satisfying than sitting down and saying, look at that, that works absolutely brilliantly and I made that myself. It's so easy these days to go out and buy stuff, stick your little card, beep, there you go, that money's gone as quick as that. And you can go out and you can make something for yourself and save some money, and the money you save on the build you can put on the shrimps that you're going to go in it. That's what I would do, and that's what I've done in the past. Anyway guys, I hope you like that little Matten filter build there. That's the first stage of the build. We'll do a second stage soon when I get to work. I'll tell you what, this might be another 3 months in coming out the way I'm learning with this these new editor things, because they drive me nuts. So this is my next mission. I've got to edit this lot down now and get it out to you guys, so when you see it, a lot of swearing's probably gone on, and I hope you enjoy it. And tune into the next one. Anyway guys, you're all stars as always. Love you all, be safe, and I'll see you on the next episode of Mark's Aquatics. Take care, bye for now.